incredible couple of days. Have we all learned a lot? Yeah. I don't want it to end. This is supposed to be the last talk, but we're going to make an agreement. This talk is not going to last half an hour. This talk is going to go 4 hours. Then we're going to get all the other speakers back. We're all going to do our greatest hits. Then we're all going to take turns. You're all going to come up here and teach us what you know. How about that? Like, cancel your planes, cancel your trains. You live here now. We are a new country. This is the lead dev at the Barbican. We are now an independent nation. The LSO can find another house. Or maybe we can take what we've learned, go back to our worlds, learn more, and then come back and share it next year. How's that instead? So this talk is called, poorly because I'm very bad at naming things, Agile Techniques for Lead Developers. But I want to be clear, in case you were worried, this is not a talk about Agile. I'm not giving a talk about Agile. But having worked in Agile for almost 20 years now, I've learned a lot that I brought back to how I manage and how I lead teams. And I wanted to share some of those things with you because if you know the history of Agile, back, because I was writing software before Agile existed, back then, the way we wrote software came from manufacturing, from industrial manufacturing processes, and we applied those same processes to software. Agile brought us much more people-focused kind of techniques. And working with Agile people and working in Agile ways, I became a better manager because I managed before, and then I managed during, and I've been managing with Agile for a long time. I became a better people manager, better lead for having done that. And along the way, I've developed a bunch of different strategies, a bunch of different frameworks that I use that I thought I would share with you. Actual practical things you can take back to work tomorrow or next week and use with your teams. And all of them come from Agile, but you wouldn't necessarily say any of them are Agile. And I'm going to do some scenarios. The first one would be a first one-on-one with someone. So first one-on-ones can be a little bit awkward. You're either a new lead, where last week you were a member of the team and now you're doing one-on-ones with people who were your peers, or you've joined a new team or somebody's joined your team and you don't know them that well. So when this happens to me, I sit down with them. Some of the things I'll talk about are actually quite good to work with remote folks. I've managed remote folks for years and years. This one and the next one I'll talk about, actually, I like to do in person, if somebody's remote, either when I'm visiting them or they're visiting me for the first time. But we'll sit down and we'll say, let's discuss what we should expect from each other. Because what we're going to do is we're going to build a joint working agreement, a personalized joint working agreement between the two of us. We're going to write our own job descriptions for each other. Customized, personalized. This process is a chance for you to talk about how you approach management, essentially do your manager README. And it's a chance for them to say, well, what are the kind of things they want? And it's what do they want for themselves? So this works actually very well with the process Melinda was talking about as well. Like this dovetails with it. And the way it works is this. It's a very simple way of doing it. We get 2 colors of Post-it notes. So it's Post-it notes. That's how you know it's Agile. And you can use Sharpies as well. And so we each have some of each color. One color will be for expectations upon you as the lead. The other color is expectations upon them. And you each have some of both colors. You spend 10 or 15 minutes or till you run out of things, silently thinking of your own expectations on your expectations on yourself, your expectations on them. They give you their expectations on you and their expectations on themselves. So at the end of this, you have 4 little piles of Post-it notes. Then you make 2 columns or 2 groups on the table, one for you and one for them. Okay? Then you take turns. You pick up a Post-it. You say, I expect you to be on time for all of our team meetings. Does this make sense? Do we agree upon this? Is there any question about what this is? And they hopefully would say yes or whatever, but they may say, well, actually on Wednesdays, my child starts late at school, so I will miss the stand-ups on Wednesday. You go, oh, okay, well, maybe either we'll move the stand-ups or maybe that's okay, but we've had that conversation now. And they may say, when they pick up a Post-it, I expect you to help mentor me to be a lead someday. You say, oh, well, it's good we had this conversation. So this is your expectation on me. I agree, I will help you do that. And then you place the Post-it where it belongs. And at the end, you'll have something like this, 2 piles of Post-its, or 2 different sets. Expectations, shared expectations on you, and shared expectations on them. The cool part about this, and why I like this so much, is because this becomes not only a personalized job description for you in relationship to each other, but also it's a physical, visible thing. You take a photo of it, you share, you each have a copy of the photo. And that is something you can talk about in your one-on-ones. That's something you can talk about at year-end review time, is these are the expectations that we jointly agreed upon. And I revisit it. I revisit it at most every 6 months, at least every year, between 6 months and a year. Because another cool part of this is that you will see over time those expectations change. And they change because you both get better at your jobs, right? Now you're better at your job. There's more expectations the people that work for you have on you, and they get better at their job, so there's more expectations you have on them. And then you have this physical record that you can bring forward, that you can actually see development over time. There's a similar process I use for this scenario. So they do come, say, next week, somebody comes to you and they say, you're an amazing lead. You've inspired me. I want to be a lead someday. Can you help me? And the answer, of course, is going to be, yes, of course, I would love to help you. How do you go about that process? Now, you've heard from Christian, you heard from Jenny yesterday about the importance of delegation and the importance of teaching other people your job. That is how I like to mentor people into my role. And I have another process for doing this that's similar to the last one. This time, we sit down and we say, what are the responsibilities of a lead at our company? And because it's different at every company, what do we each think those responsibilities are? And we do the same process. We have, this time, one color Post-it is fine, but again, it's Agile, so it's Post-its. And this time, you brainstorm, again, silently for 10 or 15 minutes, or until you can't think of any more. What are the responsibilities of a lead? Hiring, salary review, technical decisions, whatever they are at your company. But you do a little bit of a different piece next. Now you have, instead of 2 columns, you have 4 columns. So these 4 columns, this is how I'm going to delegate my responsibilities to you so that you can learn them. And we have a very explicit kind of agreement. The first column is, these are my responsibilities that I will keep. This is just mine. This is part of my job. I will continue to do this. The second column is, this is a responsibility of mine that I am going to assign to you. This is now your responsibility. But I understand that this is new for you. So I want you to make a plan around this responsibility, and then I want you to bring me the plan, and I will say yes or no and give you feedback. But once I say yes, then you execute the plan. So these are things I approve. The next column, these are things that I have my responsibilities I'm going to give to you. I expect you to do them. Don't ask, just do them. But when you've done them, please tell me that you've done them so I know it's been done. And then the final column is, these are my responsibility. This is a responsibility of mine that is now yours. This now belongs to you, just do it. I don't even want to know about it. I'm just assuming that it's being done. So this gives you a nice continuum from things that are just mine to things that are just yours. And then we do another process with the Post-its. Again, pick a Post-it, say, well, hiring for the team. And what we'll say is, I'll say, do you think you're ready to do the hiring for the team? And you may say yes, or you may say no. If you say yes, then I may say, well, let's talk about what hiring means. If the answer is no, either because I don't think you're ready or you don't think you're ready, the next question is, okay, well, what do we need to do so that you can feel ready to take this responsibility on? What do you need to learn, and how can I best help you to learn it? And we do that for every Post-it, and then we place them. And at the end, we have something that looks like this. And it'll start, most of it will start, because you're giving away pieces of your job, most of it will start with you. But the cool thing, again, we'll capture this output and we'll revisit it. This I revisit every 6 months. And instead of new responsibilities or the responsibilities changing, now we're actually going to see progression from here to here. Because I'm transferring one responsibility after another to you. And by the time you're here, you're ready to do my job. You're ready to be a lead. You've got this. And I know you've got it, and you've demonstrated it. This becomes valuable also because over time, you get to physically see these things move across the board. And it's a cool way to see progression within your role and your ability to take on new responsibilities. It also becomes great documentation for me if I have to justify, look, this person's ready for a lead role now. And you may say, because I've heard this many times before, but wait a second, I'm just giving away my job and making somebody else do my job for me. And yes, you absolutely are. But there's a thing, and Jenny talked about this yesterday. The cool part is that gives you opportunity to get better at your job, to expand your skills horizontally, or even more importantly, to talk to your boss and say, I've got some time, I'm ready to take on some of your responsibilities, because that's how you grow, right? So that lets you start taking your boss's responsibilities so that you can move to the next level. And I've done this for years. This is from a company I was at prior to Astromu. This is from Avo. This is one of the managers who work for me. I also do this with managers, because I mostly mentor managers these days. This was a manager who just started with me, and so we hadn't worked together for very long, so obviously he's going to own a lot more stuff. But there were some things I'm like, until we've worked together, I would like to have a little bit more insight here. But 6 months later, he'd proven, okay, yeah, I can absolutely trust him, and everything moved to the right. So I've been using this for years. In fact, I can't see because of the lights, but there's at least one person in this room who worked for me at Spotify who I've done this with. So you can ask Matthias if you see him. And I want to give some credit for this one specifically because this is something I got from Esther Derby. I had lunch with Esther Derby a few years ago, and at the time, I was already a senior manager, but I was struggling. As you've heard other people have struggled. I'd become a senior manager because I was so good at being in the details. And now, as my group was getting larger and larger, I wasn't growing with my team. The team was scaling beyond me, and I didn't know what to do about it. And I had lunch with Esther, and Esther said to me, asked me like, oh, so what are the things that you're dealing with these days? And I told her, and she gave me this exercise as a way to help me delegate better, because I'd gotten so used to being that person that everyone needed to speak to because I was so aware of what was going on. And it helped me. I've been using it for years now. It really helped me learn how to delegate in a better way. So I'm going to do another scenario now. How many of you have had this happen where you say, you're sitting at your desk and somebody comes up to you, one of the people on your team, and they say, for the one-on-one this week, we have that big deliverable, and I really could use this time to get that work done. And so is it okay if we skip one-on-one this week? We'll do it next week, I promise. Yeah, some of you, I promise those of you who haven't had this happen, you will. This happens. This has happened to me multiple times over the years. It just happens. Or you have the next week, and of course what happens the next week is they come by and they say, well, everything's fine. We don't really need to do one-on-one this week. Everything's good. Can we just skip it? And maybe you go, well, okay, but we skipped it last week too. And they're like, well, yeah, but everything's good. And then the next week they said, can we skip it? And you go, no, this is for you. This is your time. We better use this time. And so they sit down with you and they go, well, everything's good. Nothing, I don't really have anything to talk about. Everything's going fine. Yeah. I've had this happen. And there's lots of reasons why it happened. There's lots of reasons. I'm not going to go into it, but I have found some ways to kind of get past it because you kind of get stuck there. One way I like to use is taking a walk. You say, you know what, it's such a beautiful day, let's go take a walk. We'll go over the square, I'll buy you coffee, and then we'll walk back. Okay. Well, the cool thing that is that's a 15-minute walk. So it's a 15-minute walk there, you buy coffee, it's a 15-minute walk back, you've had a half-hour conversation. And it may be the conversation starts, you talk about the match, congratulations Sweden, by the way. You talk about the match, you talk about TV, and then, but work is a shared experience you both have. You'll slide into work. And then maybe you might actually get into some valuable things. And you'd get into that 1 week that tends to break the logjam. Another thing I do is toys. Toys are awesome. I learned this from child psychologists. So in my last job, I was a CTO. In my office, I had a conference table. That's where I did my one-on-ones. On my conference table were toys. In fact, these toys here. And they were just there. I didn't tell anybody to do anything with them. They just happened to be there. But the thing is, there's toys in front of you, so you start playing with the toys. Now you're looking at the toys. We're not like staring at each other. It takes a little bit of pressure off. It lets you open up a little bit more. And in fact, if you look at my Instagram, you'll see a whole series of these kinds of things, which was after the one-on-one, I'd look down at the table and go, oh, that's pretty cool. And then I take a photo of it. That's most of my Instagram, is me playing with toys. Another thing I've learned that has worked for me is to quote Adrian from last year, shut up. I am an American, if you haven't been able to tell. We generally, as a people, abhor silence. We like to fill silence with talking. We don't like quiet. I spent 3 years managing in Sweden. Swedes, generally, as a people, don't mind silence. They're very comfortable with silence. So, I moved there. I had a video conference one-on-one with a manager that worked for me, and sat down, said, hey, it's so great to be here. I'm really excited. How are things with you? And the answer was, good. And nothing. So eventually I say, okay, so thinking about this, thinking about that. At the end of the one-on-one, I realized I talked the whole time. This was not a one-on-one, this was a monologue. That's not good. The next week, do it again. Hey, how's it going? Oh, it's going good. And it happened again. I couldn't stand the silence. I had to talk. So I talked for an hour. I do hour one-on-ones. After the second week, I said, this is horrible. I am doing a horrible job with these one-on-ones. Next week, I'm not saying nothing. I'm just going to be quiet too, and we'll see. I'll see how that works. So the next week, hey, how's it going? Oh, it's going pretty good. And we sat like that for what seemed to be about 2 hours. In actuality, it was maybe 45 seconds, maybe a minute. To me, it seemed like an eternity, but I'm not saying anything. But at that 45-second mark, he said, so I've been thinking. And he started to talk. And it turned into an incredibly productive one-on-one. And everyone after that, I would wait, and he would speak, and then it was really valuable. And what I realized was, this was a person who wanted to take his time to formulate his thoughts before he's going to say them, and I was robbing him of that opportunity by filling all the silence with talking. I never gave him a chance to speak. So from then on, I learned how to do that a little bit better. I've been back in the US for a couple years now. I probably would have to restart all over again. I'm going to move into team meetings now and how you can make your team meetings a little bit better. One of the things we tend to do a lot as a lead or as a manager is make a decision in a team meeting. And you want to involve the team, right? I hope. So there's 2 ways I do this. One is polling and the other is voting. And I'm very explicit about which we're going to do. We are going to poll on this. We are going to vote on this. And that's because those are 2 different things. We deal with those things differently. When you're polling, you're telling everybody, I want your opinion, but I'm making the decision. And when you do that, you're actually giving them a little bit of freedom. You're giving them freedom to express their opinion in a way that is more consequence-free. Because if there's a mistake made, it is your mistake. You are taking responsibility for the decision. And that's important because people have things called imposter syndrome. They have things called group belonging bias. There's in bias and out bias and all these kinds of things that make people want to be part of the group. And especially if you don't feel like if you're questioning whether you should be part of the group, you are much more likely to be quiet or go with the group consensus even if you disagree because you don't want to be singled out. So when you say, I'm taking responsibility for the decision, but I want your opinion, you give people a little bit more freedom to express their opinion without a huge consequence. That's one of the reasons you poll. Another reason you might poll is really just because you want to take temperature on something or just get an idea. But I'm always very clear, we are going to poll on this. Voting, there's a bigger responsibility for you on. Because when you vote, if you want the team to make the decision, it is absolutely critical that you are going to support and defend that position no matter how much you disagree with it. So if your team votes on something and you say, like, are we going to use layer 7 routing? Let's vote. And the team votes. And then you go to your boss and you say, hey, we've decided to do this. And your boss says, why? That's a really bad idea. And you say, well, it wasn't my idea. The team decided, we voted and the team voted for it. I thought it was really bad, but you will lose the trust of your team and you will never get it back, right? You've thrown them under the bus. So if you're going to vote for it and your boss says, why? That's a really bad idea. You're going to pretend like that was your idea all along, and you're going to say, no, here's all the reasons why we decided to do it. We think it's a good idea, right? You got to support that decision. So it's incumbent on you to support it. So understand when you vote, you're taking that responsibility on yourself, right? You're going to have to defend it. So be really clear which of these things you're doing because they have very different implications. And it's important for people to know before they give their opinion. Don't say, hey, let's decide if we're going to do layer 7 routing. Okay, so raise your hand. Oh, we're polling. Don't do that. So I also do another way I distinguish between these two things. I do two different ways of doing it. One, some of you might have heard of, fist of 5 or fist to 5. The way this works is something like this. Hey, for team lunch today, how about we go get Thai food? We're going to poll using fist of 5 on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. So you have fist of 5 is none, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have a range. 5 means this is the best idea anyone's ever had. I've waited my entire life to have Thai food with all of you. This is going to be the title of my book. Fist means this is the worst idea ever. I don't know why anyone thought this was ever going to be a good idea. If I go under protest, and I will probably very visibly stop at McDonald's on the way back just to show you how little I thought of this idea. So it's good for polling. For voting, I like Roman voting, right? Hey, let's vote. Do we want to get Thai food? Roman voting on 3, 1, 2, 3. This is good. This is very easy to count. Thumbs up or thumbs down. You count the thumbs up, and that tells you whether something is passed. Sometimes people try and do this. You never let that happen. Sorry, it's 1 or 0. But people will still try, but don't let them do it. I like that. It's very clear for voting. What does this mean? You can't say, well, we're going to vote on doing this thing. Let's fist of 5, because then what does this mean? Is this yes or no? So also it makes it really clear. We Roman vote, and we poll with fist of 5. One thing, if you've heard a lot about psychological safety. If you have a team that is struggling a little bit with psychological safety, one thing you can do, we're going to vote on this on 3, but we're going to cover our eyes. 1, 2, 3. And so people can express their opinion in a way that they don't have to worry about consequences. Hopefully it's not that bad, but if it is, that's an option. When I was first a lead, a long time ago, I had some weird anti-corporate feeling about agendas. They just seemed like I was being the man, and I didn't want to be the man. I wanted to, we're a team, we work together. So I didn't create agendas because I thought that was too corporate. The problem with that, as I got better at my job, I learned was that wasn't just incredibly disrespectful to my team. Because essentially what I was saying is, I'm willing to take an hour of all of your time and then not prepare for it in any way, shape, or form. Which meant we had a lot of random team meetings that were kind of dumb. So I eventually got better and said, all right, I'm going to make agendas, but then these became me reading or me leading a thing, and it was just me talking. And while I like to talk, I don't like to talk every week to the same group of people. So it wasn't really good meetings. So eventually, this is something I learned actually at Spotify. This is how we did our tech leadership meetings, and I've been using it since, so for a number of years. This is how I run my team meetings every week still. We have a shared Google Doc. That doc at the top of it always has next week's date, and you add bullets. Anyone in that meeting has right access to the doc, and they can add agenda items into it. When you add an agenda item, you also add your name and a time. This is, in fact, from Avo. This is just a screenshot of some of that document. And what you see is, okay, well, it's different people are adding different things, but you have to get your agenda items in, about at least 12 hours before the meeting. The morning of the meeting, I go through that, and I groom it. I'll say, okay, well, there's too much this week. We'll cut it off here. We'll do things in this order. You wanted 15 minutes for this. We don't have 15 minutes. I'll give you 10 minutes for this. Groom it, and then send it out so everyone has the agenda. When the comes time to run the meeting, a facilitator, could be you, could be somebody else, runs the agenda. Okay, next topic is this task force, this hunter, you got 10 minutes. And then they watch the clock, and when the clock's over, say, okay, next topic is this. Even if you're in the middle of topic, you got to move on because you're trying to get through the whole agenda. And whoever added the topic, they lead the discussion. This works great for a team like 7, 10 people. This works just fine. And it's a good way to, I've been using it, like I said, for a number of years. It works really great for having a shared agenda. If you have a bigger team, like a larger meeting, some of you have done lean coffee. I like lean coffee as well. It was invented in Seattle, because it's got coffee in it. Everyone nominates topics that they want to discuss. You start the meeting, there's no agenda. Everyone nominates the topics they want to discuss. You put them on a whiteboard. You vote on each of the topics. You dot vote. Let's say everyone gets 3 votes. Put the dots near the topic you want to discuss. The number of votes each topic gets determines the order in the agenda. Then you have a facilitator. That person sets a timer for 5 minutes or so. Whoever leads the topic or proposed the topic, they lead that discussion. When the timer goes off, you move on. You Roman vote. Do we want to keep talking about this? Yes or no? If the vote is yes, you reset the timer for another 5 minutes, and you keep talking. So you may end up spending the entire meeting talking about one topic, but that's the will of the group. If the answer is no, you move on. If you finish a topic, whoever proposed the topic thinks you've finished the discussion, you move on. So that's how that works. I wanted to finish up with just some tips, I guess, about how to make your team meetings, when you have them, more inclusive. One, we've heard people reference, without referencing, this notion of role power or positional authority. Congratulations, you're a lead or you're a manager of people. Awesome. You have a problem now. It's a blessing and it's a curse. The curse is your opinion carries more weight even if it shouldn't. Even if you don't want it to, the fact of the matter is you are controlling the salaries of people around you. You are deciding who to fire, who to hire, who to promote. You may just be a tech lead, in which case you're responsible for the technical decisions in the team. And that gives you, whether you want it or not, a little bit more weight on the scale of a decision. That's fine, but you have to understand that. A mistake people often make is they're used to being a member of the team and they jump right in. And they don't realize that people will, even subconsciously, tend to agree with you. And it's not because you're smarter, I'm certainly not. It's because of your positional authority. So you have to be very judicious in your time and when you choose to enter a discussion. Find this right space. Give other people the chance. I normally wait for other people I want to see the base positions expressed before I may jump in, and I may choose not to jump in at all until later if I think the discussion's getting really off track, just because I don't want to influence the conversation, because I'm usually not the smartest person in the room. So choose when you enter a conversation. Choose how you express your opinion, because whether you want to or not, your opinion's going to carry more weight. Another thing that's really important and tends to get lost, set expectations on your meetings or your discussions. Are we making a decision or are we just talking? Because those are two very different things, and in your head you may have one thing and other people have something else. And if you're making a decision, people need to know, because they may want to prepare for that. They may care about that more than if you're just talking about something. So be clear with people. There's another role I use, and it's an observer role, and I've done this for a number of years. You may want to have this be somebody in your team, or you may, if you're comfortable, invite somebody from another team to do this. The observer role in your meeting, they watch the meeting. They do not participate. They have no role in the discussion. Their role is to watch everybody else. And they're looking for things. They can look for one or maybe two things at most. And these are the kinds of things, these are just examples. Are we interrupting each other? Are we giving credit for our ideas as a group? And you can have two kinds of observers. You can have passive observers or active observers. A passive observer takes notes. At 4:35, Pat was talking and Ashley interrupted. At 4:40, Ashley repeated something Pat had said a couple minutes ago, and everyone gave credit for the idea to Ashley instead of Pat. And at the end of the meeting, they read these back. An active observer, when they see it, they say it. I'm gesturing towards Mary, because she used that phrase before. So they'll say, I'm sorry, and I understand this is also interrupting, but I'm sorry, Ashley was talking, and Pat, you just talked over them, right? They'll raise it immediately. And the thing is, you may think you run an awesome meeting, and everybody's happy, and everybody's included. Having somebody actually just watching this, no judgment, just observing, will show you actually sometimes the bad habits your team has gotten into. So it's a very valuable role. And you've probably heard this before. When you have these kind of roles, rotate them. Not the same people every time, or invite people from other teams to do it for you and then you do it for their teams. Because people get stuck in these roles. Because they volunteer. Well, nobody else is volunteering, I guess I'll volunteer, and now you're the permanent note taker. And it's usually the people that we least want to get stuck in these kind of roles that end up doing it. But also it becomes sometimes, especially with the observer role, that gives you permission not to participate in the meeting. Well, if you're struggling a little bit with imposter syndrome, that sounds great. Like you don't have to express your idea because you don't think you belong there. You get to just watch. So you want to make sure you're rotating these roles. Different people every time, because one thing you'll also notice, especially with this observer role, if you do it frequently, you'll see the meeting change because one person is no longer participating in the meeting. And from week to week, you'll go, that was a much better meeting than last week. What's different? Oh, that's right, Ashley was observing. Okay, I guess there's some work to do here with Ashley. I talked about publishing the agenda as a measure of respect to show that you're actually worth putting, you value other people's time. It's also important because sometimes people are afraid to talk in a group. Sometimes people are afraid to talk. They don't like disagreements. They don't want to fight about things. They don't feel like they belong. And what happens when you give them an agenda in advance, you give them the opportunity to both mentally and psychologically, emotionally prepare for the meeting. And it may seem to you like that, why would somebody need to emotionally prepare for this meeting? Well, if you have an item on the agenda that everybody knows this is going to be a contentious one, we haven't been able to agree on this for a while, but we have to make the decision this week. And I know that, and I have a strong opinion about it, but I don't like to talk in a group. I have the ability to spend a little bit of time, prepare my discussions, and come to the meeting with some level of confidence. Whereas if you just spring it on me, I'm just going to sit and be quiet. And then after the meeting, I'm going to be really disappointed that I wasn't able to express my ideas. I'm going to leave you with a final thought. I talked about positional authority. I want to talk just real quick before we go about role power. Again, the awesome part of us in these roles is that we can help people. We can make their lives better. There's the loneliness that Christian talked about, the loneliness of leadership. That's an unfortunate part of it as well. And that loneliness of leadership means that while you're a member of the team, you also have extra responsibilities that makes you different from the team. That's part of the gig. And one of those things I see a lot with amazing leads. I've worked with just outstanding, stellar leads who set amazing personal examples. They were the best that you could be, except in one important way. They may have displayed just consummate mentorship and leadership and inclusion and all those things we all strive to do, but they weren't good at pointing it out when other people weren't. So you might be running your team meeting and you're not interrupting and you're making sure everyone gets credit for their ideas, and the person sitting next to you, they're a jerk, and you don't say anything. When you don't say anything, you let everybody know that it's okay to be a jerk. We can be jerks in this team because Kevin didn't stop it, so it must be okay. So even though you're setting a good example yourself, you're not making sure that you as a team are living up to your ideals. You have to be able to say, you know what, we don't do that. This isn't something we're going to do in this team. And that will actually do a great job in making your team a better team to be. And it's hard to do because you don't want to not be liked and you don't want to have a difficult conversation, but that is part of the job. Because if you think about it, the person that is somebody's constantly interrupting them or devaluing their ideas, they may not complain about it, they're not happy. And as leads, we have the ability to both positively and negatively impact people's lives. If you think about the people you've worked for, you can remember every good boss you've ever had, just how they made you feel coming into work every day. You can remember them for your whole career, and as you move into management, you want to be like them. You want to take those traits from them that you admired so much and made you so happy, and you'll remember every bad boss as well, and you'll remember them for your whole career, and you'll tell stories about them. So you don't want to be the bad boss. You want to be the good boss. Thank you.